Welcome to this short video. This is just a review of the lecture that we did this past week in class. I'm going to go ahead and do random sample using Excel. We're going to go ahead and do stratified, systematic, and also cluster sampling using Excel. Hopefully this will highlight the each concept that we're talking about. So a random sample, a simple random sample, simply says that a sample of n subjects is selected in such a way that every possible sample of the same size n has the same chance of being chosen. Here they break it up into a simple random sample and a random sample, but the underlying theme is the same, that every single data point within the population has the same chance of being chosen. And so how do we do that using Excel? So we're going to go ahead and go to Excel. We're going to use the who file that we used in class this past week. Sampling for data analysis 2-pack does not recognize text, so we do have to assign a number, just an identifying number to each one of these countries. We're going to go ahead and start with number 1 for Afghanistan all the way down to 193. Before I do that, I'm just going to quickly review how to install the data analysis 2-pack. The way to check if you have it enabled in Excel is to go to the data tab, and if it's installed, it should be right here on the left, on the right. If it's not, then the way that you enable it is just go to File, you go to Options, Add-ins, and then if it's not there and you want to enable it, it should be down here under Inactive. Just highlight it and then click Go down here. And then here, if it's not enabled, it won't be clicked. Just go ahead and click it and click OK. Sometimes it doesn't show up immediately, so you're going to have to close that Excel and reopen it, and then it should be under the Data tab, Data Analysis. If you have a Mac computer, what you want to do is go to Tools and then Add-ins, and then that's the way that you can put it on your Mac computer. So what I'm going to do here is just assign an identifying number to each one of these countries, and so we're able to do the sampling. Just highlight the column, you're going to right click and then Insert. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the identifying name for the column. I'm going to type in 1 and 2. I don't have to type in all 193 by hand. I highlight the ones that I actually typed in, and then I can drag it and it will self-populate for me. And there's 193 countries. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do a simple random sample, or a random sample using Excel. So I want to go to my Data tab, Data Analysis, Sampling, click OK. When we do sampling in Excel, it's okay for you to highlight the entire column, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the entire column, and then I'm going to make sure my labels is clicked, because that's telling me that it's going to ignore the identifying name for the particular column. I just want a random sample of 20. I'm going to go ahead and put in a new worksheet. I'm going to click OK, and then it will give me 20 countries from my population of 193 countries. So country number 144 in this particular case would be, let me just scroll down here, St. Lucia. And so I'll go back here and I install that, or paste it, and that's my country. And if I was doing an actual analysis of this data, I would actually do that for every single country. Another thing that I would also do is go ahead and copy the identifying titles for each column. I do want to emphasize that A and B country is really not a variable. The variables will be region, population, etc. These are just identifying our data points, if you will. Alright, so the next thing that I want to talk about is systematic sampling, and this is simply that you select a starting point and then you select every kth element in the population. For this slide, they selected the 3rd car vehicle and the 6th and the 9th and so on and so on. And actually we can go ahead and do that also for our systematic sampling. You go Data again, Data Analysis, Sampling, click OK. We don't want a random. We want in Excel they call it periodic, and it's the same thing as systematic. And so we're going to go ahead and pick every 6th vehicle, and then we click OK. We want it in a new worksheet, And so it started with not every 6 vehicle, every 6 country. Started with country number 6, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it there so we know. And again, I would also add the identifying names for each column so I know what I'm looking at. The next thing that we're going to do is stratified sampling. So in this case, what happens is you subdivide the population into at least 2 different subgroups. So the subjects within each subgroup share the same characteristics. And in this case, what we're going to choose as our subgroup is region. And that should make it easy for us to do. And so in order for me just to choose a region, I have to do a filter. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click on where it says region. If you click on home, you notice that you have sort and filter, and just click filter. And then once you do that, I'm going to go ahead and start with Africa. So I unclick everything, just click Africa, and it's just going to give me the countries in Africa. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new sheet, because I'm going to simply copy all of these countries, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in that new sheet that I just created. And so here are my 46 countries from Africa. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a random sample. I'm not going to divide every single region just for the sake of the length of the video. But if I was doing all of them, I would then click Americas, unclick Africa, click OK. You notice that that would give me all the countries in the region of Americas. So how do I do a random sample here? Well, we do it the same way we did it at the beginning. I'm just going to go ahead and put the random sample in column M. Go to data, data analysis, sampling. And so in this case, I want the column, right? Column A, my labels. I want a random sample, and I don't want that many, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick 15. Since I have 6 regions, that's going to give me quite a bit of data points. And I also want it, I don't want a new worksheet, I want to put it here in this worksheet. So I click on output range, and I'm just going to go ahead and highlight a few of the column M cells. I don't have to highlight all of them, I can just highlight 2, and Excel will automatically put it in there. The only time you might have an issue is if there's something already there. Excel will ask, hey, there's something there, and just click OK, and it'll go ahead and override it. Click OK, and then I have my sample of 15 countries. And you can see that country number 63. And if I was doing this again, I would put it in a new worksheet. If I was actually doing this data analysis, I wouldn't put my sample from this one in the same worksheet. I would probably create a new worksheet just to have it separate from the sample that I took. And then I would repeat this process for all of the countries, all the regions actually. Now, the next one that we're going to talk about is cluster sampling, and this is where we divide the population area into sectors or clusters, and then randomly select some of the clusters, and then choose all of the members from those selected clusters. So here's the key difference between stratified. Stratified, I separated by region, Africa, and I took a random sample of some countries from that region, Africa, and I would do that for all 6 regions. If I'm doing cluster sampling, what I would do is I'm going to go ahead and insert a column here, and I'm going to number this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Actually, let me do something first. I'm going to undo the filter, otherwise it's going to come out all wacky. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so what happens if you look at the filter, I just numbered the regions 1 through 6. So Africa is 1, Americas is 2, and then Western Pacific would be my 6. And then I'm going to just randomly choose, let's say, 2 regions from these 6. So I would go to data analysis, sampling, click OK. I want a random sample. I'm just going to pick 2. Now here I need to highlight my input range because my raw data is just these 6 values. And then I want this information to be placed just right here in the same column that I'm working at, because then I can separate it myself. And I click OK, and I got region 5 and 4, which means that when I separate these, I would choose South Asia, Southeast Asia, and then Western Pacific as my 2 regions. And then I would conduct the data analysis on every single country within that region. And that's the end of sampling. Thank you.